analytics in baseball and how it changed the game. I think AI has the same sort of opportunity in financial services to change the financial services game in regards to interacting with clients and how to do business in a better way.
For Monday, February 3rd, 2020, this is episode 62. Amit Dogra, Voice AI in Finance, Alexa at Sanctuary Wealth. Amit is the Chief Experience Officer at Sanctuary Wealth, which reached $10 billion in AUA, assets under advisement, within 15 months after its 2018 founding. Sanctuary is a partner-owned firm that brings together an elite group of wealth advisors. Amit and I talked about Sanctuary's unveiling of their Alexa skills and what it means for their business. Voice is symbolic of more than just embracing new technology. We also touched on the future of AI and voice in financial services and why it matters. Welcome to the Beetle Moment Marketing Podcast, an exploration of marketing and business with a focus on emerging technology and voice. I'm your host, Emily Binder, and I make this for you. It's time to crawl in. Hello, this is Emily Binder. I'm here with my guest, Amit Dogra, Sanctuary Wealth's Chief Experience Officer. Amit is a nationally recognized executive, industry thought leader, and frequent contributor to outlets such as Yahoo Finance, financialplanning.com, CityWire, and more in the financial services industry. Prior to joining Sanctuary in 2019, Amit served as CEO of Third Seven Advisors, a national advisory firm that provides services and solutions to both RIAs and family offices. Previously, he was managing director for Hightower Advisors, where he was responsible for overseeing more than 175 advisors, representing $35 billion in assets under management. Hi, Amit. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
You're welcome. So the CXO or Chief Experience Officer role is not one that you see often in the financial services industry. And I'd love for you to tell us a bit about your background and what you do at Sanctuary Wealth.
Yeah. And again, thanks for the question and for having me on today. You know, one of the things that here at Sanctuary Wealth we were committed to doing was creating a different experience, both for advisors and for advisors' clients. And the CXO, the Chief Experience Officer title, goes hand in hand with that. And what we're really focused on at Sanctuary Wealth is giving quality advisors who are trapped at these wirehouse organizations, large banks, where they're forced to be more concerned with what shareholders are interested in as opposed to the end client. And that is something that at Sanctuary we're completely focused on, is making sure that the advisor has a great opportunity to provide the best services and technology and client experience without having to sacrifice any of those things and be beholden to big corporate America and earnings sheets per se. So that's where Sanctuary was built. Our executive team came out of those big bank industries and knew what was wrong with it and wanted to create a culture that was anti-Wall Street and anti-big bank and more intimate and much more partner oriented, servant leadership focused. And that's where Sanctuary Wealth comes from. The Chief Experience Officer is meant to help bring that to life. And I'm focused on three things: culture, growth, and innovation. And so that's where we try to make it a reality instead of just something that sounds really great in an interview.
Making it a reality. So what is it about corporate or the Wall Street MO where the client experience suffers that you've seen that is a problem in the industry?
When you think about what's going on in a lot of those big banks, you know, we even saw it recently with a wirehouse where everything is about hitting targets. And when you're talking about hitting numbers, you're forgetting about where the numbers are attributed to. And they're attributed to the clients, the people walking in the banks or talking to advisors or whatever it might be. So instead of it being a client-centric model, it's been a results-driven model in the sense of how many products and services can we sell to an individual. The whole sort of scandal was around creating fictitious bank accounts for clients. And that was because somebody dreamt up some sort of scenario that you needed to increase the number of checking accounts sold to end clients. So people were forced to come up with a way to hit their numbers by creating fictitious accounts. Therein lies an inherent problem that we're not talking about service anymore. We're talking about product, and we're talking about raising profitability. And the minute you forget that the client is at the center of the hub and spoke model, bad things start to happen.
Absolutely. I guess you could look at Amazon as a company that is diehard customer first, no matter what. I was at a voice conference this week, and we were talking about how Amazon puts the customer before retailers, third party sellers, even content creators for Alexa skills. Uh, and that kind of customer first mentality ultimately does make your business more successful, I guess. Like those are the results, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, let's just use a real sort of silly example about how Amazon does it. We just finished the holiday season, and I personally got a package delivered to me that was not exactly what I was looking for, and contacted Amazon very easily online. They said, keep it, we'll send you a new one. And I had one in less than 24 hours. And I didn't have to worry about the shipping experience of sending it back and repackaging and all the kind of craziness. I just got a new package of what I wanted in less than 24 hours. That's client centric.
Completely. And it's quite the expectation that we've come to consider normal, which is a challenge for so many other businesses. I mean, who can keep up with that?
Oh, for sure.
So, speaking of Amazon and Alexa, the reason that you and I first connected is, of course, regarding voice and Alexa. So, tell me about Sanctuary's Alexa skill announcement this fall. And what are you doing with voice? Why was this an important step for your business?
Yeah, really excited about it. And as I said, in the role of the CXO, I'm focused on three things: culture, innovation, and growth. And as an industry, financial services is a little bit slow to adopt new technology and embrace the ever changing world of innovation. It's something that was a main draw to me coming to Sanctuary, was the ability to engage, interact, explore all kinds of new technology that's out there that's not even that new anymore. and and the Alexa device was one of those things that seems such an easy sort of integration tool to be utilized by advisors. And we're looking at it in two ways, right? B2B and B2C, meaning how can the Sanctuary Wealth corporate folks interact with the Sanctuary Wealth partner advisors, as well as how can our partner advisors interact with their end client. And so the demographic of advisors is one, excuse me, the demographic of advisors here at Sanctuary is a little bit younger than the industry average. We have just been able to attract advisors who are maybe tail end, or I'm sorry, the early stage of baby boomers or more Gen X, as opposed to being mid to late stage boomers. And as a result of that, they're open to embracing this type of technology. So my goal was to, at our first national event called Oasis, for our advisors, was to deploy some of this new innovative technology to start to make it a staple of what we do. And the easiest way to look at this, especially when you look at some of the utilization of Alexa devices or smart devices like that, it was most people have them in their households, a majority of folks. So it seemed like a very natural sort of step. So when we launched it, we created our own skills that allowed us to interact with our advisors in a way where we could share everything from corporate announcements. Tomorrow's the last day to enroll in benefits, to seasonal greetings, happy holidays, to major announcements or from our CEO or changes that are going on, or the ability to just interact in a different sort of medium, where from advisor to advisor, advisor to corporate staff, any way, shape, or form, to create community, to create connectivity, and to leverage innovation that already exists today. So we've dipped our toe in the water in that regard, but we're already working with some of our partners in the industry to make it a much more integrated tool for the advisor to work with their clients, and so they'll be able to share information back and forth about what's going on in their financial services world and in their wealth management life. So super excited about what we've been able to do and what's coming.
Oh, yeah. That sounds really useful. And I think the B2B and the B2C kind of the right and the left hand make a lot of sense for what you're trying to accomplish. So you mentioned that this is a tool that corporate, if you call it that, could use to communicate with individual advisors. What would be an example if I'm an advisor? with Sanctuary? How do I use the skill?
So you can do anything from saying, Alexa, call Amit, and it will say, call Amit Dogra, and it'll ask you, do you want Amit Cell or Amit Mobile, or I'm sorry, Amit Mobile or Amit Office, and you'll go ahead and select it, and you'll go ahead and call. So you can go ahead and interact with me. Go ahead and make a phone call that way. You'll also be able to call other advisors. So Alexa, call Emily. I'll be able to go ahead and do that as well. So you'll be able to pull up that information. You'll also be able to get corporate information like contact information. Say, Alexa, tell me where Amit Dogra is located, and it'll give you my office address. It'll also provide corporate updates. So we do on a monthly basis a all hands call, and you'll be able to access the archive. So if you missed the call live time, you can also do that and say, Alexa, play Sanctuary Wealth corporate update, and you'll go ahead and be able to get the last corporate update. So all those types of things are out there right now and available. We're already in process with developers to continuously add to those sort of skills. And what's also interesting is we're looking at the Echo devices to go ahead and use some of the FaceTime calling type features, if you will, through that device. So we're excited that we'll be able to do that in short order here as well.
Okay, that's great. I mean, just the simple directory features and internal just company information, that's more seamless. Someone can access it by voice. I can see completely. Like that's a great first step. Even if it's just that, it's still it saves people time and it's convenient. I mean, that's good. So
Yeah, we're excited about the Echo show portion of it
yeah.
as well, because now it's going to create the ability to just see each other and talk as well. So I don't think the advisors were thinking of that, because instead of deploying the original sort of like Echoes or the towers or the dots, we gave them the Echo shows, knowing that we're going to be able to go ahead and do sort of the video conferencing on it. So that's a feature that they don't even realize is sitting in their office, which will be really neat.
Oh, well, that's so smart. I mean, what I've seen in the voice space is obviously the Dot was kind of the entry level smart speaker that everybody had because it was $30, but people don't use them as much because it doesn't have that multimodal component. And the Echo Show 5 came out at that $50 price point in July. That's
Mm-hmm.
huge. And Amazon did that for a good reason because what is successful in voice, oftentimes it's going to require a multimodal component. Like you're
Completely.
talking video conferencing. So did you do the Echo Show 5, kind of that smaller screen, or was it the
You
larger one?
No, correct. You got to Echo Show 5, because when I started to do my research, we were going to do the towers, and the way Amazon's built it, the towers tend to be a little bit more expensive, because they have a different sort of feature set and utilization, right? So, but the Show 5 just seems so intriguing to go ahead and create that multimodal interaction that I jumped at it, and that's the direction we went.
That's very smart. So what have been the results so far? Are people adopting it? Have you gotten any interesting or useful feedback? Maybe things you hadn't thought of that people have said, "Oh, what if it did this?"
Well, you deploy some of these things, especially in our industry, which tends to be a little bit conservative, and you hold your breath because you're not sure what the actual utilization is going to be. And what we found was, after we deployed it and we sent the instructions on how to secure it and utilize it in our sanctuary wealth community, it was really clear that the utilization was greater than I ever thought it would be. Now, we deployed this in mid to November. We were right on the heels of the holiday season, so I didn't know what people were going to do. But what we found out was, because we had just had our national conference, Oasis, and people were excited, they were utilizing it just what you would hope for, in a way to kind of continuously to interact with each other and build community using technology. And they didn't even worry about the fact that it wasn't multimodal. They were using it in the voice capacity, and they used it all for our call, because our all hands call on in December, as we planned on setting up the calendar that way. And many of them used it for replay. They said, "Hey, it was great because I never want to miss these calls, and knowing that I had it available to me gave me a lot of comfort." And so we got a little utilization. We got a lot of both anecdotal utilization and statistical utilization of people utilizing it. So they're already asking for, "Hey, what's next? When can I use it with my clients, et cetera, et cetera?" So overwhelming positive response from this. And it was probably a bigger success than we may have even initially anticipated.
Oh, well, that's great. It sounds like giving people the devices and supplying the instructions helps because there's no barrier to entry at that point. But when you are relying on someone else to figure out how to use it or even how to enable a skill for people that aren't familiar yet, because this is a new habit formation. It's a new way to interact with technology. So I
Emily,
think
you
the fact,
nailed it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
No,
like I
no, go
love.
ahead.
No, you just that point became so was sort of the genesis for this was giving them a new way to think and interact instead of just thinking of the old ways, and it became really important for us for innovation because part of my job is to we know that advisors are leaving the wirehouses and the banking industry because they're tired of where they are and they choose Sanctuary Wealth because we're a great place to be. But my number one goal is to make sure I'm giving them a reason to continuously stay and getting them to utilize technology in a way that they haven't in their business creates that stickiness, that glue factor that really resonates with them and resonates with us. And they'll say, wow, why would I ever leave this place? They're doing things different than I could even possibly imagine. So you hit the nail right on the head for the sort of the creation of my role and what we're trying to do.
Oh, well, good. That's what I try to do when I talk to anybody about voice. You have to really spell it out. You just can't expect people to kind of get over that hump on their own. And that's the whole thing with marketing. A lot of it's about education.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see that in finance, educating people, explaining things to clients, and that's such an emotional thing in the brain. It's like, how does this make me feel? Is this loss aversion or gain pursuit? That's processed in the limbic system a lot of the time. So voice hits right there with music and memory. It's like,
And it's true. And, we're becoming much more of a virtual world. Amazon's paramount proof of that. And so when you think about some of these technologies that people are using every day, it would be silly as an industry if we did not embrace it as well. And so that's where this is coming from is recognizing that this is going to be the way of not of the future, it's the wave of today and continuously will be the wave of the future. And we have to embrace it. We can't ignore it.
yeah. So speaking of the future, I wonder, what do you see happening with the role of technology and AI in the financial services and REA space going forward? I mean, I'm not going to say what happens in 5 years. That's too long. I think you once said in an interview, "Don't ask me about 5 years. There's a mental block. I can't." What about maybe 2 or 3 years from now?
Yeah, I was on the whole point of that comment was the world changes so quickly. Like we know how quickly technology changes. If you think about it through history, how quickly it took the industrial revolution to come to shape, and then you just think about, your cell phone's outdated in 2 years. Technology changes greatly, so you can't imagine that the business, whatever it will be static enough that it'll whatever you think will happen in 3 years will be the same as what you envisioned it. So I see AI continuously being embraced, but not at the rate in financial services as it would be in other industries. Is again, we're slowly opening up to AI in industries. I think what happens is there has to always be that early adopter movement, and at Sanctuary Wealth, we're trying to be that early adopter because it is a copycat industry, and so we're hoping that by embracing AI and the role of voice and other technology here will be setting the trend for the start of a movement. It seems to be that things happen in what about 10-year periods, but that's just me from my vantage point in financial services. So we're hoping that we'll accelerate that trend a lot faster as we continue to grow to be the leader in it. But I think AI for some people can almost be a bad word because it's not the way they do things. But and I'll use a sports analogy is that you talk about sort of like baseball. Not a huge baseball fan, but they talk about analytics in baseball and how it changed the game. I think AI has the same sort of opportunity in financial services to change the financial services game in regards to interacting with clients and how to do business in a better way. It just has to be embraced, and it usually takes some startup, smaller firm, startup meaning not necessarily in size, but startup firm in regards to their thinking to go ahead and change the way that information is gathered and information is used to be the leader. And that's what we're hoping to do at Sanctuary Wealth.
Sounds like a plan. I think making a hire, the CXO role, and rolling out voice so quickly after you've just been there since I think it was July, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the startup mentality, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I wanted to ask you a bonus question. I mean, we've talked a little about Amazon here. You've been a CEO. What's your opinion on Jeff Bezos as a CEO?
Wow. I think it was right around the holidays, had some downtime, and I'm not sure how it came across one of my news feeds, but it was one of Jeff's first interviews, and I knew it was because you could just tell how like being in the industry and doing what he's done has had an impact on you both physically and emotionally. But and I mean that with sincere respect. But what was really amazing about him is when you listen to him from when he first started Amazon, is he's been very clear about the direction he wanted to go and his thoughts. And so the thing that I admire most about him is that there's a consistency into what he does, and there's a conviction into what he does. And you hear this a lot around the failures that are along the way that people have on their road to the path to success. He truly was an innovator in what he did, and I think he'll continue to be an innovator because he recognizes that part of the success of being a leader is not to waver, is being unwavering in your conviction and understanding that there will be a lot of no's, but if you're resolute in what you believe, there'll be an opportunity for success. And so I admire that about him. I do believe that there's additional industry that will continue to come, and I see Amazon being a sort of supermarket in the sense of it will cross over into other places that we can't even possibly imagine at this time. There's a reason why people talk about some of these industries that have nothing to do with what Amazon does today and Amazon, because somewhere there is a think tank within that organization, whether that's, I don't know, healthcare or even financial services. It's not hard to believe that they will be engaged in some way when you think about just the size of those two industries and what it could potentially mean to a firm like Amazon if they can crack a code in figuring out how to deploy that. I mean, Amazon Web Services. Who would have ever imagined that was a business? And it's a phenomenal business. So I think there's other things to bring to the table, and the way Jeff Bezos approaches his thinking and goes about things is admirable.
Oh, yeah. There are probably think tanks within that org that we have not even imagined. I could see just put Amazon in front of basically any industry. Amazon dentist, Amazon plumber, Amazon advisor. Like, it could all happen feasible.
100%.
I love it. So, all
I'd
right,
love to have a
fun
good.
question.
And by the way, I'd love to have a reliable plumber. So Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, that'd be great.
Well, I guess there is. It's Amazon Home Services. So, okay, podcasts. You're into voice. You've been on podcasts before. What kind of podcasts are you into lately? Maybe there's an individual one you've heard that you would recommend.
Yeah. So my favorite one I started listening to over the holidays is Everything is Alive, and I want to make sure I get the host name right. It's Ian Chillag, and it's really a funny, sort of amusing. I was looking to kind of unplug a little bit, decompress from work, and Everything in Live is basically an interview show in which Ian interviews and his subjects are inanimate objects. so
Oh.
so everything from a stethoscope to a newspaper to there was the most recent one was a bonus episode of the Magic 8 Ball. And if you're not sure if you like it, it's a real short one. It's only about like 8 minutes long, but he interviews the Magic 8 Ball. And as for those of us who are familiar with the Magic 8 Ball, we know that the Magic 8 Ball only has a certain number of responses. So it becomes an incredibly funny engagement with the Magic 8 Ball worth listening to.
Oh, wow. Well, that sounds great. I've never heard of it. I'll definitely add that to my list. And we will have everything we mentioned in the show notes at beetlemoment.com/podcast if you want to find links. And also, Amit, let people know where they can follow and connect with you.
Thanks. So you can follow me on Twitter at Amit Talks Fin Service. Also, that is where you can find me on LinkedIn. And obviously, if you'd like to know more, we're at sanctuarywealth.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amit.
Emily, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
When it comes to podcasts and voice platforms like Alexa and Google Assistant, are you confident that your marketing strategy is setting you up for success? I've helped dozens of clients in North America and Europe with voice marketing, and I offer private strategy consultations resulting in a customized action plan. Visit emilybinder.com/call to book your consultation in just a few clicks. That's emilybinder.com/call.